GEM International is a new diamond explorer in the richest diamond producing country in Africa, located next to the fourth largest producing diamond mine in the world. International Spotlight is on an 1109 carat diamond recently discovered in Africa by a fellow Canadian junior with a proven operator and finance team. GEM International trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol GI. Visit us at gemdiamondmining.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is real estate expert Ross Kay from thewealthyhomeowner.ca. Welcome back to the show, Ross.
And thanks for having me back, Jim.
The latest real estate figures released by the Canadian Real Estate Association, what are they telling us, and how real are these numbers?
Well, the interview today is timely because very seldom over the last 40 years has CREA released their data on a Monday, as would the British Columbia Real Estate Association. But what just happened today probably will go unreported in the press, and your listeners will probably not hear about this anywhere else but here, unless some other real estate analyst or realtor who's listening to your program then pretends that they know what I'm talking about. What I mean by that is this. A short 30 days ago, in middle of April, when March's numbers were released from Canadian Real Estate Association, the British Columbia Real Estate Association, and the Ontario Real Estate Association, all of a sudden a surge in sales was claimed. And the Canadian Real Estate Association in particular suggested that a new record had been hit with the Ontario market, and that things were still going crazy. And we all know that that was happening at the same time the Ontario government was deciding upon some recommendations to put forward to cool the housing market. Of course, for people who listen to me here, they'll also know that at that time I said, whoops, those March numbers that were just released really are not true. Well, guess what happens? Here we are in the middle of May as April's numbers are released, and all of a sudden a magical 7% drop in sales took place across Canada. The national sales dropped 7%. Now, had you known how to read the numbers, you would have realized, as we had told you, that that drop had actually taken place in March, and you're seeing the second part of that drop now in April. That drop could be an indicator of the housing market, your change to the market. You're going to have to get a hold of your housing analyst and ask them to interpret that. I think you're going to have fun even finding one in Canada that understands what we talked about a month ago and just reiterated here in your show today. British Columbia, your listeners here in British Columbia, and those people who have questioned our authority here on the home ownership market, I encourage all of your listeners to go to the real estate, the BC Real Estate Association, bcrea.ca, and pull up their latest release for today. You'll see a news release, and inside that news release there's a click where you can download the full release. What you need to do is scroll down to page number 3, and you need to look at the provincial totals. Because, Jim, have you heard anywhere other than out of my voice on our claim from last fall when prices had already dropped 12%? You're going to see that be reported next spring at the same time prices are already corrected over 20%, on and on and on. Has anybody reported that housing prices have dropped, on average, $100,000 in British Columbia so far during 2017?
No.
You haven't heard any report in any news media report that the average selling price in British Columbia, province-wide, has dropped $100,000 during the first months of 2017 versus the first month of 2017, versus 2016. You haven't heard that?
Nope.
So if you go to their report today, which is on their website, which you just click through the way that I told you, scroll down to page number 3, and you will see a $100,000 drop in the average selling price for January, February, March, April combined of 2017 versus 2016. 100,000, well, it's 96,000. I just like to round it up for 100 to make it sound as much damage as it really is. It is a $100,000 drop in year-over-year comparisons for the first full one-third of 2017 calendar year. That is a Canadian record by a landslide. I fully suspect that is a North American record by a landslide. I do not know of anywhere where housing prices dropped on average across the state or a province by $100,000 in 1 month, in one calendar year. Now, this is not month to month. This isn't 2 months. This isn't a quarter. This is the full first third of the year. This is exactly what we told listeners on your show back in August, when we had already recorded that 12% drop in price. And we warned you what's going to come forward. So we're going to increase our warnings at this time on your show. If you're looking to get your real estate advice from real estate boards, associations, real estate agents, realtors, anyone with the word analyst or economist beside their name, you are getting conned. You are getting misled. You are being directed by a driver of a car who has never gotten their driver's license. It is a $100,000 correction that we told you about last August that is now recorded on the BC Career Real Estate website.
We'll have more with Ross Kay right after the break.
Lotus Ventures Inc. is a BC-based medical marijuana company poised to launch into the rapidly evolving cannabis sector. Lotus is in the final review stage of the Health Canada approvals to become a licensed producer, having arranged facility financing of up to $12 million, plus building permits for its prototype indoor production facility. Shares trade under the symbol J on the Canadian Securities Exchange. Visit our website at lotusventures.ca.
I'm Douglas Mason, President and CEO of Rainy Mountain Royalty Corp., RMO on the TSX Venture Exchange. Rainy Mountain's Brunswick property is located in the Rideout Shear Zone in Ontario. With grab samples running as high as 32 grams per ton gold, a drill program will commence this spring to test the numerous targets located by recent groundwork. For more information, visit our website, rmroyalty.com.
Welcome back. We're chatting with Ross Kay. Ross, Home Capital Group is in trouble. Moody's just downgraded the 6 major banks in Canada. Is this the beginning of a contagion among mortgage lenders?
This is another one of those topics, Jim, that you're going to have to go back to previous shows or previous blog posts or places where I've been quoted. I think Garth Turner actually had this. I had a notation in his blog back in, again, August of last fall. And I specifically warned about this specific issue, but not in the way that you just addressed it. So I'm going to address the problem that we have right now. Today's world is dominated by social media. There has never been a housing correction, a swing in the market, a change in the market that has taken place anywhere in the world like it can take place in Canada in 2017. Canadians are so connected. They're so reliant on social media. They share their opinions with one another so intensely. You know, we do lead the world in this type of communication. What you watched happen with Home Capital Group was a short seller, Mark Gahodes from the States, who came out and saw problems with Home Capital Group, the corporation. He saw the mistakes in the corporation's filings that would lead you to think that someone was doing something they probably shouldn't be doing, which in Home Capital's case was mortgage brokers were fudging the income earnings of their people looking to get mortgages in order for Home Capital to lend them the mortgages. This resulted in mortgages where on a total theoretical level, maybe the person didn't qualify to get that mortgage. What I'll tell you is those sort of things are irrelevant when you're looking at the type of lending that's going on by places like Home Capital Group. Home Capital Group's mortgage book is about $20 billion. It's loaned primarily on a shorter term basis, like 1 to 2 years, to entrepreneurs, people who are self-employed, people who find themselves in a short-term need for cash, who can't go to their bank and borrow money or borrow mortgage against their house under traditional bank lenders. In other words, the bank is not willing to take on that business because they're already making so much business from the regular Joe on the street. Home Capital Group and places like it serve a useful purpose. They allow those people to get out and get money. But anyone who thinks Home Capital Group's mortgage book is at risk only needs to look at the people who invested, the pension funds that invested. Those people are not going to invest if that mortgage book group is at risk. What happened, though, was social media took over. Social media became the driver that caused fear to take place with people who had their money deposited at Home Capital Group getting a great rate of return. Those funds are all CDIC insured by the government of Canada up to $100,000. In other words, that money was not at risk at all. They were getting a premium rate of return in their money with zero risk, or the exact same risk you have at any bank in Canada, yet they believed, because what they heard on social media, that their money was at risk. That caused a run on Home Capital Group. That run on Home Capital Group was so swift, so voracious, so volatile, that Home Capital Group, as of today, has a possibility of folding and closing up. They may fold and close up, but I can assure you, the underlying mortgage book, in other words, what Home Capital Group's business was actually built upon, it's as safe as any bank mortgage portfolio in Canada. There is no risk for any losses with that portfolio. You'd only know that when you hear that a major pension fund was willing to bet those pension funds on the security that those mortgages hold. That's what happened with Home Capital Group, and that's what we have the fear of taking place in this market. If this same situation happened with the housing market, not only will the correction that I've been telling everybody is coming, the one that you is already underway in British Columbia with a $100,000 drop that no media in British Columbia has reported on other than your show here today, that's going to look minuscule in the rearview window. The problem we have right now is the fear that social media can generate. Home Capital Group just proved my point.
We'll have more with Ross Kay right after this.
Aben Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and the Yukon. Trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the pink symbol ABN-AF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Aben's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at abenresources.com.
Keep informed. Receive our weekly recap of thought-provoking articles, podcasts, and radio delivered to your inbox for free. Sign up for the HoweStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage, HoweStreet.com. Welcome back. We're chatting with Ross Kay. Ross, question from a listener. Why are condo listings increasing in the Greater Toronto area but not on the Lower Mainland? Is it due to the BC government's interest-free loan for first-time buyers? And if so, when do those buyers have to close on their purchase?
Yeah, no, it's got nothing to do with the BC first-time buyers plan. Whoever asked you this question, forwarded this question to you here, they are mistaken. They are listening to the myth that's out there about British Columbia condo market being hot, and they believe that the lower listing counts are a clear proof of confirming that biased opinion. It is a falsehood. It is a myth. Yes, there may be pockets where home buyers are still being fooled into believing there is not a $100,000 drop in British Columbia home prices. Yes, that's true. But that will not remain in effect. When you have a $100,000 drop in your average selling price, even the homes at the low portion of the home equity pyramid, which is the pyramid that the portion of the housing stock that supports all growth that takes place at the top. When you have a $100,000 drop at the top, that obviously $100,000 drop has happened somewhere down below already. You're just not seeing it in the numbers. What you're seeing with listing counts is this: in Toronto, as new units are being completed, a lot of people have made a substantial profit of having purchased the unit 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, and as they close on it now, they'll list the property for sale, driving up listing counts. People in condominiums who are now seeing a little bit of softness in some Toronto home prices are now listing their condominiums in the hope of buying a townhouse. This raises your listing count. In British Columbia, what people are hearing is that the condominium market is hot. Yet, I encourage everyone to pull the listing chart, the sales charts up for condominiums in the Greater Vancouver area from the Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver from last year in April and compare them to this year in April. You are going to see how much the sales have dropped. Obviously, if the sales have dropped, the market isn't as hot as what they are, yet organized real estate, hokey-pokey housing analysts, real estate agents who think they're housing analysts, economists, everyone else who can't explain how housing markets function have jumped on this bandwagon. Then ask them to explain how come there's fewer sales. Because you can't use the excuse, oh, there's fewer listings. There was lots of listings because there were lots of listings that didn't sell. Lots of apartment listings that didn't sell. Ask them to give you that answer. What I'll tell you is that our home buyers in Vancouver, so Vancouver home buyers or British Columbia home buyers who are using our buyer program today, they're not buying. They're on hold. We will notify them. They'll follow their detailed dashboard. They'll know exactly when to buy because they know what's going on in the marketplace. They know there is a $100,000 historical record drop just reported on the Real Estate Board or the British Columbia Real Estate Association's own website that no one hears about in the newspapers. You just wake up 1, 2, 3 years later and all of a sudden your net wealth is devastated. People need to take action. They would not, if the TSX if you lost $100,000 in the stock market, you wouldn't be sitting there twiddling your thumbs, believing someone tell you there's nothing wrong with the market. People need to start finding answers to these questions before another $100,000 is gone. Think about it. Not only are your sales off 35%, prices are down 12%. What would you think impact would that have on the BC economy, Jim? If sales are, what do you think land transfer tax revenues just took place? You're looking at a consequence of those two factors of about half. Your tax revenues that the Liberals went to the polls with, bragging about that we'll be able to set our budget, that money's gone, folks. It's not coming back. It is gone. When those deals go to close come the end of June and July, all of a sudden those tax revenues are gone. You're either going to have a bigger deficit or the government's going to have to come after you for some more money. What is this going to do? A $100,000 drop in average price. What does that do to the average homeowner? It's $100,000 less net worth that the average BC homeowner now has. That means they can't go and borrow the money for a car. They can't renovate the house. They can't take care of the things they have to take care of. They don't have money to take a trip. They don't have money to buy clothes. We know what happens when those things stop happening. And that's what's already ongoing. Yet everybody is sitting there twiddling their thumbs, other than the people that are listening to us and are taking action. I encourage all of your listeners here today, please take action for protecting your family. Please go to that website. Verify there's a $100,000 drop in average selling price. Find somewhere, anywhere in North American history where a $100,000 one-year drop in any state or province's housing stock has taken place. This is worse than what happened in the United States, folks. British Columbia, right now, this is worse than how the U.S. housing crisis hit. You have already lost, on average, $100,000 per BC homeowner.
Ross, we also have some other questions here. White Rock, BC now has arsenic, manganese, and now chloramine in its tap water. Will that affect real estate prices in White Rock?
Yeah, so this little secret out in BC, right? The politicians are waxing poetic, pretending that there's nothing wrong. Real estate agents are being silent. Real estate realtors are being quiet on this subject, worried about being sued. That's what's going on here, folks. I know what you're saying, Jim. What you're asking here is this going to be a problem? Yes, it's going to be a problem. The problem that exists is home buyers in Canada today do not have full representation. There are only a handful, literally, folks, a handful of brokerages across the entire nation where it's even possible for a buyer to get full representation. We have a buyer's program that specifically doesn't allow these type of things to happen. The question that everybody must ask is, why are home buyers buying homes in White Rock, Surrey, without having a water test done? Now, they're not having it done because it is a municipal issue. Because all of the realtors and brokerages and organized real estate and banks and economists, everyone who's making a profit on their backs of the home buyer, they don't want it to stop. They don't want to assume the liability that could be built up. My question is, I don't care if there is arsenic in the water, you want to know about it. You want to have the owner of the property you're purchasing it from make that disclosure. If you don't have a buyer representative whose only business, this means his entire brokerage, only works with buyers. They never list a house. They never represent sellers. You are not going to get the kind of protection that you need. I don't care what any real estate company tries to say. All the real estate companies are trying to do is protect the franchises, protect corporate RE/MAX, whose shareholders are all in the United States of America. Royal LePage, whose shareholders are Brookfield. Century 21, Coldwell Banker, part of the Realogy Group in the United States. Shareholders, all in the United States. There is no protection here for home buyers. You need to follow a program and strategy that protects you so that even these maybe innocent things are not going to destroy your financial future by purchasing a home without understanding what the potential consequences of situations like tainted tap water could have. We have programs, we have strategies, but if you're not in them, you need to seek out a lawyer, a fantastic home inspector if you can find one. You might want to hire a team of professionals that can break down these sort of things in your property. But at the very, very least, you never want to sign an offer that your lawyer hasn't looked at. And you bring up any potential problem that you have about any property you're considering buying. And I want to add one further thing here, Jim. I highly encourage you to choose a real estate lawyer from the local community directly where you're buying a property. Because if you're not following the proper strategy and have a program in place, that is the only potential opportunity that you have to protect your largest financial investment. That is the home equity that you will have in your home over the next 40 years.
Does water quality have to be declared in disclosure?
At the municipal level, no. But I'm gonna halt that statement for a moment here to let all the lawyers that are listening in ponder the class action lawsuits that are possible. If someone from Ontario is moving British to Columbia, they're buying in an area where the municipal water source has questionable concentrations of any chemical in it, and that wasn't disclosed to them, I believe they can sue the listing brokerage, the selling brokerage, and they can sue anybody who's associated with it. It isn't caveat emptor in Canada, although it can be caveat stupidity. In other words, if you just want to go ahead and pretend nothing is going to happen, you can expect the consequence that inevitably is going to come, and you're not going to like it. Why not just go ahead and protect yourself off the bat? No, they do not have to disclose. But if you have a buyer representative who is following the program and strategy that properly protects the home buyer, that question is asked, folks. That question is answered. And if it's not, at least then you know it was asked and not answered.
So, in other words, a municipality doesn't have to declare it has questionable water, but they could always be sued if they do. Well,
it's not going to get to the municipality. It's going to get to the real estate brokerages who had the property listed, the buyer, whoever sold it to that new home owner, and probably the lawyers. And the lawyers are going to look for one problem and one source of getting out of this heat themselves, and that's always going to be the real estate brokerage. It is impossible for a real estate brokerage to be doing their job for a home buyer and not have the home buyer fully aware of situations like this. The only reason they do it is because there are not agents out there trained in buyer brokerage. Canadian Real Estate Association has this designation called the ABR, Accredited Buyer Agent, a representative. I'll tell you folks, for $57, any real estate agent in Canada can buy it. How bad is the Canadian Real Estate Association? How bad are the local real estate authorities? As long as you pay your $57 each and every year, you get to keep putting that designation by your name. As long as you pay for the designation, in other words, as long as you buy it, you can call yourself an accredited buyer's representative. What I'll tell you is that nowhere in North America is buyer brokerage, the art of selling a home to a family, ever been properly assessed and trained. It has not happened in any jurisdiction because it's so much work, so much skill involved. They don't want to do it. We've got a program and strategy that makes that happen automatically.
Who is responsible for disclosing poor water quality information in a sale declaration document?
If it is a property where the homeowner himself is responsible for the quality of water, i.e. well water, he's responsible, she's responsible. If it's in a municipality, there's no one that's responsible. That's the problem you have here. This is why you need a competent buyer representation strategy and program, because there are not the protections in place for you. If you were to call up Mike Holmes from Homes Inspection, one of the few guys in any aspect of the real estate industry that I have the utmost respect for, and I believe has always worked in the best interest of consumers. In other words, he's always held others to the same standard that he apparently applies to himself. He would laugh if you said you bought a house anywhere where the water quality was even questionable.
Metro Vancouver water only has a small amount of chlorine added, and that's a long way from the Capilano plant where they use ultraviolet light to purify the water. Does that water require disclosure in sales declaration forms?
No, chlorine is a commonly used additive to drinking water. I think it's saved far more lives than it would ever threaten damaging. I know everybody who's got a swimming pool over the last 50 years has probably swallowed more chlorine from their swimming pool or the community pool than they ever had to worry about in their local tap water. That being said, as I said previously on your show, water is a key component to any homeowner's life, and you need to take it seriously, whether it's the chlorine being added or other chemicals that no one's telling you about.
Ross, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Hey, I appreciate me having me back, Jim.
My guest has been real estate expert Ross Kay from thewealthyhomeowner.ca. You're listening to HoweStreet.com radio. Any questions for us or our guests can be sent to info@HoweStreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on HoweStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HoweStreet.com radio is a production of HoweStreet Media Incorporated.